FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome, and you are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz, and guess what? It's January 8th, 2018. Time waits for no man. It certainly doesn't wait for any sanctuary state, and California is open for business if you're a member of MS-13, or, hey, who knows, if you're a member of the Bloods or the Crips and you're thinking about coming to the U.S., think about California. I think the environment out there is perfect for you, and it's really going to work out. Hey, and California is going to become a charitable foundation. Well, first, housekeeping. Email, be part of the show, kl@kerrylutz.com, Twitter feed @KerryLutz, and, well, what's going to be with California? Is it just going straight down the tubes, or worse, going to Hades in a handbasket? Well, person to answer that question is our good friend Joe Messina from therealside.com. Joe, how are you?
Good, Kerry. Hey, listen, don't you hear that flushing sound in the background when you called California? We're in a continual state of heading down the toilet here. You know, just amazing.
I mean, what don't they get?
We're actually giving the gangs an economic boost, if you would, right? I mean, we're losing we've lost over 2,000 businesses in the last 6. Actually, that's not true. We've lost over 2,000 green businesses in the last 6 years. Think about that. California lost green businesses. The world is coming to an end, right?
Yeah. Unbelievable. That was the land of plenty, the Golden State. The Golden State's turning into the Leaden State.
We're the eco freaks, right? We are the eco state, and it's really funny. To your point about sanctuary, being a sanctuary state, we're like a bunch of 17-year-old brats out here, or our legislature is. Anyhow, think about this. So mommy and daddy, I want to use a car. I want to use the car. I want to use the car. Then you smash the car and you go, why did you let me use the car? So they're reaching out to Trump now for money. So they want be a sanctuary state. They don't want to do anything the feds tell them to do. They don't want to be forced to do anything, and then they go back to the feds and go, hey, we need $100 billion for infrastructure because we don't know how to handle money.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I can totally understand that. It makes complete sense.
Oh, God. Yeah, we are having a ball here. Before Sessions kicked up the pot, enforcing the pot laws, right?
That was your future.
Well, listen, you've been to California several times, so you know that our border guards, our federal border guards, are not at the border, right? They are 8 miles in, 6 miles in when you get to the different borders, and they patrol different areas. So what's happening now is Jerry's screaming because the federal border patrol guys are arresting people with dope on them because it's still against federal law. Yeah. So I love it. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, well, California has long ago just become a complete joke, Joe. I mean, you've got nut jobs like people in your legislature selling anti-aircraft weapons to terrorists, and then they're worried about the Joe average carrying a gun because it might go off and he might shoot himself or he might kill himself with it. I don't know what their thing is. But, and then all they can worry about is how many Diet Cokes a day Trump drinks and is he of sound mind.
So listen, you get less, I know, right? I mean, but you get less time in jail. And Cal, this is true the way the law is written. You will get less time in jail for using a gun in the commission of a crime than you will be for stealing a gun from somebody and or having a gun in your car illegally. So if I come home from the shooting range, right, and I happen to have too many bullets in the car or whatever, now I don't know if you know this, but you have to go for a background check every single time you buy ammunition now in California. So if you go to the shooting range once a month, you go through a background check once a month. So, but you can actually get more time for being picked up for those things than you can for actually using a gun in the commission of a crime. I mean, we have gone off the deep end out here. I mean, it's a great place to visit, but don't live here.
No, and don't go shooting there because God only knows what they'll come up with to lock you up. I mean, that place is madness. Well, Hey, we got some good news, though. Trump has reduced, for the first time in my life, he's reduced the number of bureaucrats on the on the payroll, sorry. Right? He's cut down on that?
Oh,
that could only be a good thing.
Listen, the government is the only place in the world that puts a budget together. Like you and I, right? We have our businesses, and maybe we've got slated 5 or 6 seats, for different jobs to do, and maybe we only fill 3 of those, right? Well, the government looks at that and says, "Oh my God, we're operating at less efficiency when you and I could probably do more with 3 than we can with 5 at times." They don't look at it that way. They don't even look at efficiency. They just look at how many people they need. He's turned around and said, okay, we're not doing this anymore. Just like when he ran, remember when he ran a campaign, she had 900 employees in her campaign countrywide? He had just under 90. That was the joke. He had just under 90 full-time people. Mm-hmm. And who won? And who spent less money? And I'm going, you know what? I want the government run that way. Don't you?
Hey, well, I wrote an article about this coming Trump battle with Congress, because under the Federal Impoundment Act of 1974, the president is required to spend all the money that Congress tells him to spend, regardless if literally they're stacking up pallets of $100 bills in Death Valley and lighting them on fire to keep warm. In the chilly evenings. It doesn't matter how wasteful it is, how illegal it might be, how unconstitutional it might be. He must spend the money. And here, Trump is just saying, well, we don't need 25 under deputy assistant secretary of this department and that department. We're just not going to fill these positions. And then the EPA, it looks like a new broom sweeps cleanest, right? They're getting swept out of there. So, I mean, what do you make of it?
No, I think it's good. Look, we have been bloated for far too. I serve on a school board locally, and I'm always amazed that we bring people in to do temporary jobs. Now, I've been on that board coming up on 10 years this year, and we brought people in my first 2 or 3 years for special projects, and you can't fire them. You can't get rid of them. It is truly an act of Congress to move them along, Kerry. Yeah. So what happens is you hire somebody on part-time to take on a specific project along those lines. And then what happens is you got to give them certain you know how it goes. You give them certain benefits, and then they get time off, and then the governor signs a law last year that says, if you've been part-time with the company for X amount of time, you get the same bennies that a full-time employee gets. So you're sitting here going, well, wait a minute, that's not the way we planned it. That's not the way we laid this out.
Yeah, it's madness. It's madness. Say, well, you probably, the day you get hired, if you get knocked up, then you probably get pregnant leave as well.
Oh, it's wonderful. It's just wonderful. Now they have leave for both. This is what I think is funny too, is they have leave for both sides. So if you both work for the same company and you take that time off for leave, and I don't know if you heard this, but basically the bottom line is, in some instances, you have to pay somebody up to 13 weeks for maternity leave, right?
Oh my God.
Well, so you and I, all of a sudden, you get your business in California. Your office manager and one of the warehouse workers hook up. They get married. They have a child. Now you got to pay one of them. Which one do you think is going to take the money? Right, the one that's getting the most amount of money. Right, you're down an office admin. You're down a warehouse person. I don't know about you, but I'd have to hire somebody to help out. I couldn't do all that myself. So you're paying like 2 salaries, and you're only getting one person's work.
Yeah. Oh my goodness gracious.
And you can't take away medical benefits, Gary. You can't stop
fire them for taking it either, right? You can't just fire them, say the hell with you, then you'll get sued.
Oh, we had a fellow in business that asked me to help him with something where he does all the federal, it's a manufacturing plant, and he has about 300 employees. So every year he goes through, I don't know what the process is to make sure that everybody's there legally, checks everybody out and that kind of stuff. So the feds came in on a snap audit on him, first time in 3 years. So they came in and they sat down, they checked everybody out, and they found almost 30 people that were here illegally, that gave him phony Social Security numbers, but were cleared through the federal system. That's got to scare you in and of itself, but it gets better than that. So now the feds actually said to him, hey, look, we're not going to fine you because you did everything by the numbers. This is our fault. So, but you got, I don't know, 30 days to get rid of these people. Okay. And so he does it, and he gives them a nice severance package. He actually paid every one of them, even though they lied to him. See, I would have been, you guys lied to me. You deserve what you're getting. But he gave him a 2-month severance package, every one of them. And within 30 days of him letting them go, guess what happens?
He got sued.
That's right. He gets slapped with a workman's comp suit from the state of California, plus. Ended up costing him about, I don't know, by the time he was done with these 30 employees, it ended up costing him about $260,000 just in fines, fees, and restitution for the state. And on top of that, his workman's comp tripled. Okay.
Yeah. Great.
So why? And this is a true story, not embellishing. He actually closed down one of the plants because he said, I can't do this. I don't know what laws supersede what laws.
Yeah. Really. That's pretty sick. But it's not surprising. It's called Kafka-esque. He was caught in the Kafka loop. Franz Kafka worked was it Czechoslovakia, I think, or Hungary. I think this was Hungary, for the Workman's Comp Board. And that's where he came up with the books that he wrote, like The Trial, where a guy he's being prosecuted and he doesn't know what he did wrong, and no one will tell him, because then if they tell him, then they have to let him go. So you just don't tell the guy, and you just keep him locked up. And this is madness. I mean, it's truly freaking madness. This is, and only in California. If you could show me where this is happening in other places across the country, we went in. We had an accountant on a business that we bought. She'd been working there 6 or 7 years. An older woman, and what happened was our electricity gets shut off. Our insurance got canceled. This was a common occurrence over 3, 4, 5 months, right? Yeah. So finally, I'm sitting at the gas pump, and thank God I had the credit cards, but my gas card got shut off, right? Company gas card. And she giggled all these things away. Finally, we went back and I said, look, I'm going to let you go because I'm always worried that a check's going to bounce. Electricity's going to get, we're a computer company. We electricity on, right? So she takes me to the unemployment board here in California. Of course.
And ultimately, I got a female judge, a female attorney representing her. She comes in with tattered and old, I'm not embellishing. This is true. She comes in with a tattered old sweater on and some older jeans on. She comes in with a QuickBooks diploma, right? Which doesn't mean anything other than you know how to run QuickBooks. It doesn't mean you know how to add
certification, right?
Right. What happens? The judge says, well, she was there for 8 years and the other boss didn't have a problem with her. You must be doing something. Have you retrained her? And I said, Your Honor, she just showed you her QuickBooks certification. What more could I do? I don't know anything about QuickBooks. All I know is when you don't pay the bill, the lights go off. That's how it works here in California. Yeah. Well, guess who they went for? They found in favor of her.
Of course.
And I had it's like, whoa, my God. I called my wife. I said, we're screwed. We need to move.
Madness, huh?
California.
Freaking madness.
Come out for the summer, come out for a couple of weeks, get some money into our system, and then leave. Just leave. And now with the new tax law, Kerry, right? I mean, they're really in trouble out here. We're one of the highest tax states in the country, right? Yeah. And I'm sitting next to a 1%er a few weeks ago and go, look, I'm a Republican. I'm a conservative Republican. I guess what he's doing, but this is going to hurt me. And I looked at her and I said, not me. I'm fine. California's just filled with their about Prop 13 out here where they only tax property taxes are 1.3% of the sale price.
Right.
So when they hate people like me, because at the time, I guess houses were turning over every 5 to 8 years. Well, I've been in my house now 16, 17 years, which is, somewhat unheard of here in California. So my property taxes are at a rate almost 20 years ago. Yeah. So they're dying. They're trying to find ways to get around that, add certain fees onto our property taxes because the Democrats have 2/3 of the legislature out here. Mm-hmm. And they need 2/3. Ready for this? They need 2/3 to up or add any kind of tax. They got it.
Sounds like a good thing.
I mean, hey, you're the fox and you own the hen house. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, my God. Oh my God! I don't know how people stay there.
I don't know. You tell me. It's there again. It's you look at the economy out here. We're upside down. You and I have talked about this before. State pensions alone, or what? God, last time I looked, they were up almost in the hundreds of billions of dollars. I think it was 127 billion in arrears of unfunded pensions.
Oh my God!
And they won't stop the 7% pension, my friend.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah. Hey. Well, something has to give, and it eventually will give, and it might be you moving out of there, but something's got to give, because this is a case where the takers have totally overwhelmed the makers and the producers. Pretty soon there'll be no producers left in California other than Harvey Weinstein, and I don't think anybody really wants what he's producing now. No. I listen. Hollywood. I don't know if you saw what was going on the other night. It's like all of a sudden everything's gotten quiet. Now they're shaming the women that came forward. And what's really funny is I asked the question. I think the first week on my show, I asked the question: Where were these women? Where have these women been for the last 20 years? Why they'd allow other women to be taken advantage of like this? And I got beat up by people on the left that I was shaming these girls. How terrible of me. And now they're doing it. Well, let me tell you a little story here. They know how to handle these women in India because, listen to this story. They're Jet America, an Indian airline. So there's an altercation in the cockpit shortly after takeoff. And evidently the male co-pilot allegedly slapped the aircraft's female commander, or the pilot, prompting her to leave the cockpit of the 777 in tears. And, they said she stood in the galley sobbing, and the cabin crew tried to comfort her and send her back to the cockpit, but in vain. And then the male co-pilot rather, still in the cockpit, then called out over the intercom for the commander to come back to the controls, and she wouldn't come back. And,
oh my God,
like, this is a freaking airplane. This isn't like, this isn't Harvey Weinstein's casting couch, This is an airplane. So I don't know about these co-ed workplaces. They don't seem to be functioning well in certain societies. So yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm not laughing at her being slapped. I'm just like, you got a couple hundred people on board. Pull it together.
So listen. So she goes back eventually. After a while, she goes back into the cockpit, only to exit a little while later. And this time the plane's crew was really afraid of what was happening between the two senior commanders, as were the passengers. Could you imagine being on this plane, Joe? So the flight crew finally managed to coax her back into the captain's seat. And the plane landed safely in London, but I hope the guys in the white jackets were there to take them both away. I mean, they're madness here.
Oh, yeah, that's scary. Stuff like that is scary to me. You better hope both of them. I used to joke when I was flying a lot. I'd always go to the pilot. I go, "You married?" And he'd say, "Yeah." So you getting along with your wife? "Yeah." "Okay, good. I'll get on a plane then." Make sure nothing's going wrong. But it is different cultures, right, Kerry? I mean, I'm not saying that he was right slapping her in the face. Don't get me wrong, but different cultures, they talk to each other. They treat each other differently, and that's got to be weird. It's got to be really weird having them both in the cockpit like that. And the airplane company should know.
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, there's female pilots and co-pilots all over the U.S.
Bingo. Yeah.
I've seen them many a time. Now, that one plane that crashed, I think, in San Francisco, or no, it was in LaGuardia. It was a U.S. Air flight. They just kind of came up a little bit short, and it wasn't a good thing. It was two female pilots, and something happened, and neither of them knew what to do on landing. But, that had nothing to do with their gender, I hope. No. It was merely a matter of getting into a situation that neither one was prepared for. But I guess they got to give, male sensitivity training that it's not okay to slap the pilot if you get upset with her in the middle of the flight. Wait until the plane's landed to slap the pilot, right? Isn't that the takeaway?
I'm with you, but I got to tell you something. I watched a woman start to wail on an IT guy in an office scenario in the IT room, and I'm thinking to myself, I I don't even want to get involved with this because if I get in the middle of this, I'll get accused of hitting her or hitting him or doing no, thank you.
You know what happens to peacemakers? They get shot.
They get dead, as my son would say.
Yeah. Don't get involved, but document it by all means with your video from your smartphone.
No, everybody's got one now, right?
Yeah, you got to do that because that's a must. I mean, if I was on that plane, I was on a plane one time, Air China. Now, this was 20 years ago. They weren't quite as sophisticated. It's a brand new 747-400. We're on the hump, upstairs.
Right. Yep.
The plane takes off. Like 5 minutes later, the captain comes out of the cockpit, and they have like 2 rows of seats with curtains around him. He lies down and proceeds to fall into a deep sleep. He's snoring like the windows on the plane are rattling. He's snoring so intensely. And he's there. This is a flight for like 4 hours. He's there the whole time. 10 minutes before we land, one of the flight attendants comes and, I don't know if she used smelling salts or slapped him a few times. He wakes up, goes into the cockpit, and lands the plane. And it was a really turbulent flight, too. Because you can get really bad turbulence in China in the summer, like bone jarring. And he didn't wake up. So I figured, well, if he's not waking up, I guess we're pretty safe because if there was a problem, he'd definitely wake up, wouldn't he?
Plus he's dead. Yeah, you would hope so, right?
Oh, my God. Hey, so Joe, we got to go, but it's therealside.com. Just tell us about the show, how we find you, wherever you are.
If you go over to therealside.com, there's a list for stations there, and you can find stations and times, and we have a lot of fun on my show every day, Monday through Fridays.
Well, that's what it's all about. Fun. Yeah. Hey, like I said, be part of the show. Write us, kl@kerrylutz.com. Use the Twitter feed @KerryLutz, and, of course, the Facebook page is Financial Survival Network, where we post very irreverent, financial stories and stories about life that you're just not going to find elsewhere. I mean, we posted a bunch of them today that they just get funnier as life goes by here, Joe. I mean, it's not all the crazy stuff happening in California. The crazy stuff is happening all over the freaking planet. And I mean, you just look at these, like right now, Estonia is going to release a state-backed cryptocurrency, which is going to really work out well.
Don't forget Venezuela, right? I mean,
you can't make this stuff up.
No. No.
But I'm going to be on your show in a little while, not too long, talking about cryptocurrencies.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there was an article. I don't know if you caught this before we go. Embezzlement plagues union offices around the U.S.
Oh, no. That can't be true.
Record show. Are you shocked? I am shocked. I am totally shocked.
Oh, God. You know what? Most of the union members, quickly, that I talk to, they are not, they're not happy with union management, but they're somewhat afraid to move them on.
They might have to work for a living. But, hey, I'm looking at these incidents like theft and fraud ranging from $1,051 to nearly $6.5 million. Compiled by the Office of Labor Management Standards. So I guess they have standards for theft, which is important because if you don't have standards, then the job won't be done properly.
You're telling me.
You just look at this stuff, Joe. I mean, they're raping these union funds, and then the funds like the Teamsters Health Fund, Health and Welfare Fund, their pension fund broke. And guess who they want to bail them out?
Usins, taxpayers.
Yeah.
I mean, we need a whole hour to talk about how the unions, for lack of a better term, and I'm sorry, but how they rape the other public entities where they go in there and you've got to take care of them. You've got to cater to them. You've got to supply a person for them on taxpayer funds. It's like, wait a minute, don't you get enough from us already?
Yeah, here's a great one. The International Brotherhood of Boilermakers. I mean, are they bartenders or what? Local 154 in Pittsburgh saw its former business manager plead guilty to embezzling approximately $1.5 million. So he also pleaded guilty to tax evasion. So he had the nerve to steal the money, and then he didn't even pay taxes on it.
And he didn't even report it. What is it with these people?
Here's a great one. Former executive director of the Hawaii Painting and Decorating Contractors Association pleaded guilty to embezzling approximately $1.5 million from the Hawaii Painters Trade Promotion and Charity Fund, which comes out of the hourly workers of Painters District Council 50 in Honolulu. Now, first of all, why do painting and decorating contractors need a union? I mean, I don't get that one. But then, how could they have that much in dues that it was that easy to steal $1.5 million? I mean, I could go on and on here, but you kind of get the point, right?
Yep. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I do.
Hey, but, you know, better. Hey, this is the world we're in. Joe, thanks so much for coming on. We'll talk to you again soon.
Me. Always a good time, Kerry.
Don't spend all your Bitcoin in one place.
I won't. FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.